Lead, I'm Jake Tapper. In other national news, the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown, the unarmed teenager shot and killed by a police officer, sparked a national conversation about issues of police brutality and excessive force and a whole number of other topics. Brown is one of several high-profile police killings in recent weeks. There's Eric Garner, who was killed while in an NYPD chokehold and pinned to the ground. John Crawford, the Ohio man killed while holding what turned out to be a BB gun inside a Walmart. And Dylan Taylor, an unarmed man who was shot outside a Salt Lake City 7-Eleven while police responded to reports of a man carrying a gun. But for anyone inspired by these cases to seek out information on just how often police killings happen, well, there's a good chance you discovered the same thing that we did. The numbers simply are not out there. And it's not because we're all using the wrong search engine. There is actually no database, federal or otherwise, that tracks police killings, unlike what exists for police officers killed in the line of duty, which we reported on last week. But now one journalist has decided to take matters into his own hands. He's compiling his own database of officer-involved killings on a website called Fatal Encounters. And joining me now is Brian Burghart. He's the editor of the Reno News and Review, who came up with this website. Brian, what made you decide to start tracking police killings?
Well, I discovered there was no database. There was a police killing in Reno, Nevada, and I tried to look and see how frequently that happened, and it wasn't available. So it seemed insane that this kind of data is not available to the American public, so I decided I was going to make it.
And while putting this database together over the last few years, what have you discovered about the prevalence of police killings?
Well, I've discovered that the best numbers offered by the FBI are less than half what the real numbers are. For example, they generally claim that the number is about 400 people a year killed by police. And according to, several sources, like Killed by Police on Facebook, in the last 365 days, it's 1,080.
You say that the fact that this database does not exist, you don't think it's an accident or an oversight. You think it's by design. Explain what you mean by
Absolutely. That. Well, there was a law passed in 1994 requiring the Justice Department to keep this data. And the fact that they've been ignoring that law for 20 years suggests to me that they don't want to do it. I mean, it's clear evidence.
Because they do, in fact, of course, keep a database on how many police officers are killed in the line of duty. We reported on that last week, but you can't get the other figures. Now, you just mentioned a Facebook group. You have been relying heavily on crowdsourced information. Are you concerned about how reliable that is?
Oh, absolutely. Since most of the crowdsourced information comes from journalists, it's not perfectly accurate. What I started with, the original intent of this was to do public records requests of all 17,985 state and local law enforcement agencies. But that, with roadblocks, that was taking a very long time. So I did manage to FOIA all the state and local in Nevada. But now it's growing, and actually we may be able to go to primary documents for many cases.
Ultimately, what do you hope is going to come out of the work you're doing?
Ultimately, I want the U.S. Department of Justice to collect this information in their Uniform Crime Report, exactly the same place they keep the police killings, the police who are killed by criminals.
Right, and in 2013, that number was 27 police killed in the line of duty. Brian Burghart, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Coming up on the